This week's Strong Talk podcast is brought to you by Renaissance Periodization. Go to renaissanceperiodization.com, which proves that science is stronger. From their popular diet templates to training templates to ebooks, skip all the fad diets, all the misinformation out there. This is the diet I follow myself, Kalle Beck. I have my clients follow this. It just takes all the guesswork, and it's simple, easy to follow way. Go to renaissanceperiodization.com and follow them at RP Strength online. We're also brought to you by startingstrongman.com. Go to startingstrongman.com for all the latest news and information on the sport of strongman and for strongman training. Go to store.startingstrongman.com for from training gear, knee sleeves, wraps. We got them from Cerberus, SBD, Spud Inc. We got ebooks like The Cube Method and Built by Mike Westerling. We got everything you need to train for strongman. The truck pull simulator, training templates. Check out our training templates, proven programming for the sport of strongman at just $15 a month. But if you use the code STRONGTALK, it's just $10 a month. Go to store.startingstrongman.com for all of your strongman needs. Go to startingstrongman.com/sponsors to support companies that support strongman and support us and support the Strong Talk podcast, so you get these episodes every week. Like SBD USA, SBDUSA.com, Strength Shop USA for all your strongman equipment needs, KabukiStrength.com for all products like the Duffalo bar, the shoulder rock, and you can use code SS10 to save 10% at KabukiStrength.com. Go to barbellapparel.com for the best fitting jeans for strong people such as yourself and use code StartingStrongman to save 10%. If you'd like to support Starting Strongman, please go to startingstrongman.com/sponsors. Click at the bottom of the page. You can click the Amazon and Rogue banners before doing your shopping. We get a small percentage of the sale, and it helps keep Starting Strongman and the Strong Talk podcast going. Really appreciate it. Again, go to startingstrongman.com/sponsors for all of the great companies that help make this show possible. Welcome to another episode of Strong Talk podcast. I am Kalle Beck, joined by my co-host Michael Battaglino. We're going to be talking today about some going on in strongman. What's going on in the strongman world? And there's a lot to cover. It's been a little bit since we've done a show together. We had a couple saved up that have been going out, but it's good to be talking to you again, Mike.
Hell yeah! Cover a little BSM and then WSM.
Let's be careful. BSM. Britain's Strongest Man. Every time I put it, I don't want people to think that I'm into like ropes and leather.
Understood. Make sure we get the letters correct there.
Yeah, it can get confusing.
Yeah. Sure.
So we're talking the day after Britain's Strongest Man just wrapped up on, and the internet is shocked that Eddie Hall won his 5th straight title. But
yeah, blown away.
But I think there's a lot more if you actually look into it, other than just looking at the final result. There's a lot more to be said about it than just Eddie wins again and he looks great.
Yeah.
The other thing we were talking about it earlier is Lawrence Chalet pretty much he did a great preview show, and he's pretty much dead on his predictions on how everything would go.
Yep, Eddie would win and Hicks would push him. That's what happened.
And it wouldn't be that easy for Eddie, which it really wasn't.
No, Hicks looked really, really good.
Yeah, I think it's about as good as Graham Hicks has ever looked.
Yep.
Looking at the videos and everything that I saw, and just following it, there wasn't a live stream for this one. There was in years past, and of course, I just want to talk about the people that get mad and they say this is at rate. How could there not be one and all this? And you go, well, did you pay for it last year?
Oh, it was last year's paid for? I mean,
I think it was on Flow Elite last year.
Oh, okay.
But even if it, sometimes they do their own where it's $10 to $15, to stream it, or if it was on Flow Elite. But the fact of the matter is, unless you have paid for it in past years or would be willing to pay a $10 to $20 to watch it, then you can't complain that you couldn't.
Are they even doing Amateur Arnold, is that going to be on Flow Elite? Have you seen that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot less than there were, I guess last year and the year before. I don't know that they're going to have as many.
Yeah, there's definitely more strongman coverage on Flow in the past 2 years than there has been in the past, like 2 years ago, than there is this past year. Not calendar year, but just year in general.
Strongman year.
Yeah.
Season. Yeah.
In this past season. But anyways, there was, this is the first time we've really been able to see any like actual training footage or contest footage of Eddie Hall since he won World's Strongest Man. And there's, of course, he's really good at generating it. And there's been lots of talk on, what he's actually been up to, how healthy he actually is, if he'll ever compete again. Of course, I can't post anything, probably including this podcast, without the question, I thought he retired.
No, and that's going to keep coming up.
Just because, and even though he specifically said in all the interviews that he retired from World's Strongest Man, which I'm starting to think after watching this that he'll end up competing.
Really?
At Worlds. Yeah, that's my take. I think so.
Okay. I mean, there's neither of us have any special intel, so
no.
I mean, it's just a hunch, and it probably could pan out.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know why you wouldn't, other than the fact that it took a lot out of him to win. I mean, he put it all on the line, and he won. And I don't know. I mean, he said he didn't want to do it again, so he might not want to put it all out there again.
Yeah,
to try to win.
But watching, he looks in a bit of pain doing some of the competitions. He's definitely not 100%. He looks like he has some sort of injury, either into like his hips or low back. Just some of his, even though he's so strong, he can still win some of the events. It's definitely, the movement isn't fluid.
Especially the yoke.
The yoke looked bad.
He looked like he was in pain on the yoke. I mean, you could see him right after.
I mean, I am not saying that I am Eddie Hall, but I have done contests where I was very strong statically and I could strict press logs and stuff like that. But then when you have to move underweight, especially yoke, and you have some sort of issue, your body tries to mask it. And I've seen that in other competitors, and even, times when I've been that where I had like, a low, like a bulging disc or something and still competed. And it gets shown somewhere, like even on the car deadlift, he was able to do 15 reps to win just because he's so strong. But every rep he looked in extreme pain, just watching it, versus you watch the video of Graham Hicks or Mark Felix doing it, and they got one rep less, but it didn't look like it hurt them every time they picked it up.
Honestly, I'd rather see him take a year off from Worlds and come back next year healthy. I'd rather not see, the returning World's Strongest Man hurt himself in like the heats or really hurt himself in the finals. I wouldn't want to see that. I mean, I hate seeing anyone get hurt. So
you don't want to see the returning World's Strongest Man be at 70%.
No, I mean it sucks seeing Z not at his best last year, and he knew it. He was just happy he made the finals, but to see him and Shaw go head to head for their 5th title, neither of them get it, and then Z was not in his not in his normal form. Mm-hmm. But I think this year will be better between the two of them. So.
Yeah, I think Z's a lot healthier. But I also, I agree. And then the problem with that is that the 99% of the audience that watches Worlds just go, wow, he's not strong anymore. They don't, they don't get a backstory. We don't have Sports Center like for strongman. This is the closest it gets, I guess, where they're delving into what's actually going on. They just watch an hour-long television broadcast around Christmas, and then they take their opinion from there. Maybe watch Born Strong on Netflix now, and then they go, wow, well, that guy's not strong anymore. When it's like, no, he's an athlete and he has these injuries and he did this and still overcame it, and no one looks at the whole story.
Right.
So that's the reason why I think like you're definitely correct that with Worlds supposedly being in late April, which isn't very far away at all, the extra time off would probably be best. Just because it's just it the whole public perception gets skewed very well. Like even Robert Oberst has dealt with this just because he missed like one Worlds, or he hurt his back like in one qualifier, and people don't see that if he did this show and he won over here, or he went here and placed well. No one looks at that. It's just you did Worlds, and that's the casual fan perspective on how good you are now. So,
and while we're talking about Obi real quick, I thought it was pretty cool to see that Trey did listen to our advice and go train with Obi yesterday.
Yeah,
that led to some. I'd actually never seen. I mean, I'm sure Trey's done a medley before, but because he doesn't have all that equipment, I've never seen him do a medley like that, in training. So that was pretty cool to see. And then he flipped the farmers over and got really excited afterwards. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think that could only lead to good things for both of them. And yeah, it was good to, we talked to Trey a couple episodes back on this show and told him like, hey, you're pretty close. Go up there, and of course, Obi's getting ready for Worlds, so having another strong training partner to help you do medleys and stuff should definitely be helpful.
So shall we go event by event here through BSM, or Britain's Strongest Man?
Yeah, I think I think it's just a couple of things to note is, the log. The thing that you can see that Eddie does so well is he's very good at being a competitor. Meaning, I think there's some events just watching it where Graham Hicks had the opportunity to beat him, but Eddie knows exactly what he needs to do. Mm-hmm. You can see on the log, he never really planned on getting there was like a 200 kilo log at the end, and you could tell that wasn't his goal, but he moved very fast in between each log, and then that was the difference. It's not necessarily that he was stronger. It's just like, okay, I'm going to make sure to move quick between these and go a faster time because they're doing split times, and then he won the event by 6 seconds.
Yep. And
Hicks was the only other athlete to do 4 out of, I think 4 out of the 5 logs. So, but and you beat him by 6 seconds, and the field of competition you're in too, right?
Yep.
Like, okay, looking at this, probably the only person out who's gonna get to that log
would be Hicks
in a comparable time.
What did Stoltman hit? Did he hit just 1 log less, or just have a better time than Paul Smith?
I guess so. I'm not sure. There's a unofficial result somewhere, but I have to pull them up.
I'm looking at the picture that you had of the leaderboard right before the Atlas Stones.
Right. Yeah.
Trying to ascertain what we can from that.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, I think they're doing split time, so it makes it makes a big difference. The car deadlift went pretty much as you expect. Mark Felix put up a good time. Hall, like we said, did just enough to win the event, even if it didn't look like it was the most fun. Mm-hmm. I kind of, more than going event by event, I just want to talk about the contest as a whole. I think the takeaways are, Adam Bishop was in third pretty much all day, and I think he tore his bicep last year at the event, so it's good to see he's pretty much back. He got Terry Hollins ended up having a pretty consistent performance. He fell down, though. I think the log fell on his face.
On Terry?
Yeah. If you look, his eyes all messed up. But he fell down with one of the logs. I think, he didn't have a good performance on the log.
Well, it looked like he did. I mean, he had 6 points, so he was actually kind of mid-pack there, though.
Yeah.
And that's historically, it's never been his best event.
Right. I think that's more is that people are surprised he didn't do well on the log, but Terry's never really.
He's not surprised. He says it.
Exactly.
He knows it's a tough event for him.
Yeah. That's always.
Oh yeah, there's a picture of his face. Yeah.
He's got a little shiner in the corner. But after that, I think he won the medley. Um, I'm pretty sure the loading medley.
See, loading race. Yep, Terry won that.
So, the the added cardio sessions and everything seem to be paying off. I mean, he looks fantastic out there. Like he's. Would you say that Terry Hollins is the most aesthetic strongman in the pro circuit today now?
Without question. Yeah, yeah.
So, to still get, and he then also won the Stones, so he won 2 events and tied Adam Bishop on points, and I guess with winning the 2 events, that probably led to him winning the count back, which is always unfortunate when there's a count back without a tiebreaker, but that's just how it goes. But good to see him, fight his way back to get on the podium.
And I want to see him get to that 10th final. I want to see him get back to Worlds to get his 10th final.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean he's at 9. He could do it. He gets a heat with a deadlift versus a squat.
Yeah, and not an axle.
And then he'll be fine.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the most honest competitors about everything. They're just like, nah, the events are bad for me. Other events I do great.
Yeah, read it on. I mean, really, open on Facebook. He's like, not my best event. He's like, these ones, these I'm good at. These favor me.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally honest. That's why he's a legend.
Yeah. So he did great. A past guest I talked to a long time ago, probably 2 years ago now on the podcast, Paul Smith, had a fantastic rookie showing. Won the hammer hold, wasn't too far off the podium. He had a slide penalty on the yoke, which cost him 2 seconds, but still 5th place. He's 23, I believe, and just pretty consistent across the board. It's not like anything stood out too much. Obviously winning an event stood out, but no glaring holes, just generally just improving year by year. Just quietly improving in the ranks and being right up there with all the top athletes in Britain. So.
And I'm guessing his performance there is going to help his bid for Worlds.
Yeah, I've heard.
I'll have a good shot at it.
I've heard it's tough because, there's the perennial kind of stars in British strongman and they're more well known than the British fans. Let's be honest, strongman is broadcast in Britain and it's also put in places to fill time slots everywhere else, but it's actually broadcast and seems to be looked forward to in Britain compared to and they have more events where we just have Worlds on a channel that no one even really has anymore. Mm-hmm. People are still fans of strongman here, but it's different.
Does he train? Does he train at the same gym as Hicks? Or maybe it just looks similar.
I think everyone over also another thing that helps over there is everything's a lot more concentrated, not as spread out as we have it in America. So even if they don't, it's everything's pretty much within driving distance. If you want to go train here or there. So, but I don't know if he does on a regular basis, but yeah, I've always, I've talked to him a lot over the years, and he's always very smart in his, questions and answers in how he approaches things. He's active online, helping other people. He posts in the Starting Strongman group, answering just random questions, and he's now, got 5th place at Britain's Strongest Man. So, big.
I sure wish. You had the site back when I lived in the UK. I probably would have gotten into strongman a little earlier. Because then I came back to the States and I'm like, oh, there sure was a lot of strongman over there.
Yeah, there's a ton.
I just didn't know about any of it where I was at.
You needed to get on the old Sugden barbell, which was big back then.
No kidding. Yeah, the whole time I was on Elite FTS. That's all I knew.
Yeah,
I was just trying to be a conjugate bodybuilder, Kale, like we all were.
Yeah, that works out real well.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it was, I don't know.
It's the time.
It's all part of the process, yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's not too much else to say about Britons. It's the crowd looked good. People are just like, yeah, Eddie won. But he has some sort of injury. he definitely looked better than he did at the Giants Live Finals in December. So he is getting better. He completed a 5-part loading medley pretty well. So conditioning's
Yeah.
but improving. And Europe's is supposedly like 2-3 weeks before Worlds. So I think he's gonna do Europe's because
Okay.
you want to complete all the major titles,
Yeah.
right? Other than the Arnold, which I don't think he's ever gonna do. But that's a whole other story. So I think he's gonna do that, and it being so close to what Worlds is reported at, maybe other people will skip it.
Yeah,
Very
I don't
possibly.
know. I don't know what. I'm looking forward to Thor's year. I guess that's a good transition into the world's conversation.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I think I don't see if Thor needs to win Worlds. He's won
yes.
he's won Europe's 3 times.
Is it 2 or 3?
Yeah,
I
either
think
way, he's won
he
it
skipped
enough.
a year in between. Yeah,
And he got beat by Laws that one
by
year.
Laws. Yep.
Yeah, I think he won it 2, then Laws won, then he won it last year. So I think that's 3. But
Yeah,
I don't think
3 times.
winning his 3rd or 4th or 5th Europes doesn't really do much for his legacy or namesake at this point. So if they are that close, and he'll have been just done the Arnold in March, which is a heavy show and it has different events this year. I think skipping that would make a lot of sense just to concentrate on Worlds.
I think I'm going to go ahead and say it here. I say Thor wins the Arnold and he wins Worlds. I'm going to say he wins both.
I agree. I think, looking at the events for the Arnold, they're different this year. There's the bag toss, right? And the stone to shoulder, which are odd events. I think both of those events I don't think anyone in the world can beat either Thor or Shaw at them. So, which I think makes the Arnold is completely a show versus Shaw versus Thor. I think Jerry Pritchett gets on the podium as well. But, But I don't see him doing as well with like his bicep issues in the stuff like a stone to shoulder. If it was like a normal stone, I think he'd have more of a shot at winning. I think he, of course, still has a shot at winning. I'm not saying he doesn't, but just you have to go by that. I can't see with like a natural stone to shoulder anyone hanging with the Thor or Shaw on that, unless like Martins was competing in the Arnold, which he isn't.
Yeah. Jerry did look pretty good yesterday with the stone. He didn't look to be too concerned with the bicep,
really?
which is good. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love for him to win. That would be amazing.
It's doable. He could do it.
It wouldn't surprise me. It's just if you're going off the odds, the best betting would be Thor and Shaw. Probably Thor would be the most heavily favored.
You and I would be the only people not surprised. Everyone else would be like, never saw it coming. Like, no, watch him train.
Yeah, anything Jerry does wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I think it's going to be between those 3 at the Arnold.
And it's not going to be like a blowout.
No.
Thor isn't going to win by 10 points and destroy Shaw. It's going to be neck to neck, and then I think Thor has the slight advantage with the events because Thor is really freaking good at Axel.
He's very good at Axel. He's very good at tossing things over bars.
Yeah. Yeah.
His deadlift is probably like if you look at like someone from where they started to where they end up, his deadlift might be one of most improved lift of any like elite strongman.
And I don't even know what happened. I mean, he started training with Sebastian Oreb a couple years ago, and I think Stan Efferding still does his nutrition. I think the combination of like getting all those people on his team and then not acting as often, all those things are working in his favor.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think the problem with Thor is he does where I look at and I saw there's little moments in Britain's where Eddie does one movement which puts him ahead of like Hicks in the loading race or an event, and he's strategic in it. Thor makes those little mistakes that costs him the event.
Yeah.
It's almost never ability. So, he that's where I could see Shaw having the advantage. Is he's just
the tactician.
he's a better he's a better competitor. Um, but yeah, going into the World's Strongest Man events. Sorry, I just almost knocked over my laptop. So these are as official as they can get without being posted by World's Strongest Man. I mean, even I put in the thing that the event like the squatting with loading the barrels into the cart and deadlifting his back, and Z confirmed that on his own Instagram, so that they're going to be squatting with barrels again.
You heard it there.
So and you hear other people posting, "Hey, I love the events," but no one, even though I've heard these events, it's not like in past years they're telling like don't share these with anyone. I think that they've been a little bit more lax, like they don't really care if the information gets put out this year. That's just my take on it.
And it's not like it's bad for the sport. It's if anything, it generates more excitement.
Oh, 100%. It just brings Worlds up again, so people are like, "Oh yeah, that's going to happen."
Yeah.
So I think everything's starting to slowly turn around. Other notes is it says, Magnus for Magnuson was named as the official referee. So he will be refereeing at Worlds this year. I think a lot of people say that then favors Thor, but I think if you look into it, you would find that that's not the case.
Absolutely not. No, without question, he is a fair judge. He does not favor Thor.
No. Magnus is an extremely fair judge. I know he brought Thor into the sport, but from what I can tell, there's been a little bit of rumblings. I think they kind of went their separate ways at some point, which is fair to say. But just because they're both Icelandic, I don't think it means that you're gonna have more favoritism one way.
Agreed.
Or the other. Yeah, I think Magnus is probably the strictest judge in the sport. Like maybe to a fault.
Yeah.
I remember when I competed one year at the Arnold Amateur, and he was a judge in one of the lanes, and everyone was getting excited that they were going to have Magnus give them their down calls. And I had known from talking to people before, they're like, whatever you do, do not get in Magnus's lane. And I went, yeah. And then after the competition, everyone complained about having Magnus as a judge.
Yeah.
So, because he made this one guy hold his deadlift for like 10 seconds, and he hitched it, and it was the ugliest thing you could do. And it was like when he gave the down, it was like with disdain, like, well, you did stand up, but that was so ugly and so hitched that I hate myself for like having to give you a down call. I have to do
this.
Yeah. Where other people are like, oh my, other judges have the kind of thing like they're happy, they're like, wow, you ground that out, and they're excited when you do it. He was like, why would you do that? Like, it was and also I saw Colin Bryce was named like the director or something of World's Strongest Man events, which I'm honestly not even too sure what exactly that
what that means.
That's because I asked someone, and I was like, who was it before? And they're like, I think it was Douglas Edmonds. I'm like, Douglas Edmonds was still involved with Worlds? So I don't know if it was just like, even if Colin was already doing the job, they like officially gave him the title. You know how jobs can be like that sometimes?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's too noteworthy, other than Colin continues to do great things with Strongman. So we have the events for the qualifiers. Also, as noted in the article, there's generally the people they don't do all of like the 12 or 13. I think there's 12 or 13 events listed. They do six of them?
Was it 5? I thought it was 5. Is it 6? It'd be 6.
It's one or the other. So like, there's a load and drag and a load and farmer's walk. I like that they're doing a loading event followed by something else. I feel like they've shown the athletes carrying 4 implements onto a platform for so many years, it's gotten a little stale.
Oh,
Probably.
yeah. I'm glad they're back to. Maybe the anchor will come back.
The anchor would be
Where is
sweet.
where is the anchor? Yeah, it looked like yeah, last year we had 6 because there was the last man standing stone to finish.
Yeah,
I think it's
I think it's 6 usually. But another note is that Rogue is the equipment supplier, so how that will affect the implements and what Rogue will make is interesting.
it's gonna be freaking awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
And people think that that'll mean that Rogue will make more custom strongman equipment, and I don't necessarily think that's the case, because if you watch the CrossFit Games, you'll see how many huge, expensive one-off contraptions Rogue builds for the CrossFit Games that you can't find on their website for sale. So
Yeah.
they'll just, it's just kind of showing like, hey, look at all the cool stuff we can do. I think the events look very balanced. It's definitely going back to a more traditional, or look at worlds other than the past couple of years, where it's just slowly been increasingly heavier and heavier and more static. And it resulted in last year's finals where it was as static as it could possibly be.
Yeah.
And once you go so much, you can keep improving. Like it's a little heavier, and it gets somewhere, and you go, okay, I can't really go anywhere from here. You have to go the other direction.
And it just wasn't as. I mean, I told you before. I thought Worlds was not fun to watch last year.
No, Worlds should never have, a deadlift with bumpers stacked to the side.
Yeah,
It
and
was
a single tire flip. It just wasn't a great event.
well, it was supposed to be a flip and drag, but
Right.
that got changed.
Never happened.
Um,
But we got a load and drag. Started with a load and drag, I'm guessing it's going to be load and drag for a few heats, load and farmers for the others.
yeah, exactly. So
Yep.
that'll be one of the events, and I think it looks like the other events, there'll be the overhead for either heat will either be a dumbbell or a log, and I'm guessing there'll be some disparity on who does arm over arm truck pull or the toss, which is probably some sort of keg, or could be gold bars, you never know. Tossing things over a bar.
I don't know. I feel like they've gone all around with tossing different things.
Yeah.
I don't know what they go back to. I don't know which one I like the most. They're all interesting in their own right, I guess. The kettlebell was more interesting than I thought it would be, honestly.
Maybe it'll be a Rogue sandbag toss.
That would not surprise me, but it also wouldn't surprise me that Rogue would make something else.
Yeah.
Some other custom piece of equipment.
And I think the addition of the squat with the cage kind of contraption with squat and deadlift with the barrels being loading into it looks very cool. The problems with that event is when the barrels get released, when it's done for time.
It's tough.
It's just not going to be fair. They settle into different spots, but that's just kind of how it goes. Strongman's not a standard sport, and a little bit of luck gets involved in it. And Z even said as much on his Instagram when asked about the event. He's like, "Oh, it's not," like he said something like, "It's not even for all the competitors, but that year I was only one to do all, so it didn't matter." Like I think he's saying like it's hard to time when they get released, to do the same. But that's a problem with a lot of events in strongman, including like stone over bar and
even like a tire flip. You've got 5 or 6 tires. They're not precisely the same weight.
No, definitely not.
I mean, I'm sure it's close. Sandbags. I'm sure it's close, but
or a car deadlift like we saw at Britain's.
Yeah, they're not calibrated Alico plates.
No. So
that are with the smallest variance. Yeah, it's not.
And even just having like 4 lanes go or more go at the same 5 lanes go at the same time in the finals. So
yeah,
like each lane's a little different in the footing. Like I've at a lot of places, we've done contests. I know it when I've competed at nationals. I'm like, shit, that lane sucks. There's a big old dip in it in lane 4
Yeah.
versus like lane 1's a little downhill the whole way, or it's downhill one way, but they're not going the same way each way. So it's just.
What do you think? I wonder if Rogue will go back to using that dumbbell that we haven't seen for a couple of years that they made, the one filled with shot, or if they'll make a loadable.
It'd be smart if they made a loadable dumbbell, but
I don't know why they haven't.
Worlds always tends to be a globe style, which I think is what every competition should be. I think when you start using the plates with the open end, or even when you close them at contests, they just move around so damn much. Unless you use spacers.
Yeah. Speaking of which, get your spacer at MB Power Center.
For sure.
Washers.
One thing that gets brought up by people that follow most sports and not necessarily strong and just casually watch strongman is that the people in the qualifiers do different events to qualify for the finals, which isn't the same. Like, I don't think any other sport really does it like that.
Yeah, not that I can think of. Which is not strength sport. Yeah,
which is weird, but
well, they also, I think that they know who to put in which heats, and everyone is seated before they go into the.
Are they?
Well, allegedly, allegedly. Hopefully Terry gets the deadlift. I don't know if it was last year he got the squat, right? Was it last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Paraphrasing his own words, he said the events out of all the qualifier events, he couldn't have been picked worse ones.
No. So hopefully, hopefully he gets a deadlift again, so he gets that 10th. But the final events are pretty cool. I think the final events will be good.
Yeah, it's we have a couple things that it looks pretty balanced. We have a frame carry, so grip is contested again.
Good. Bring the frame back.
It was gone for 1 year.
Was it only a year?
Yeah, remember the dislocated finger saga of 2016?
Oh, yeah. I guess it was only 1 year. Okay.
It's been a long year in strongman. There's definitely been more that has went on in strongman, at least in recent years. In 2017, it seemed than ever.
Sure.
Or maybe it's just me.
More documentaries. Eddie Hall winning.
Yeah.
Eddie Hall setting the axle record as well.
Yeah.
All the stuff that happened in the finals.
Yeah, there's been more media attention and more outlets tend to be picking up on that kind of stuff. So we got a frame carry, a car deadlift, a loading race, which I wonder when the last time a loading race was in a finals.
When's the last time a car deadlift was in the finals?
It's been a bit for that too.
Thinking, oh God, what year did they do the car deadlift hold?
That's a while ago.
I think that was the last one I remember. I guess it must have been a heat. I just remember Johannes Arhu going against Vitalis Lawless. That must have been like 11 or 12 though.
Yeah, they've done car deadlifts and car deadlifts holds and heats for a bit, but in a finals you're probably going back.
Let's see. If we go car deadlift finals, I'm thinking it was Pujanowski Zavickas.
Yeah,
when Z won, when Z, Marius did his normal all out insane car deadlift, which no one has ever deadlifted a car quite like him.
He has the best technique on car deadlift ever.
Oh God,
he turns it into 3 movements.
Yeah, I mean Poundstone was pretty unique, but Pujanowski was something else in the car deadlift.
It's called, maximizing your strength. It's just like I was talking about how Eddie Hall does the little things that allow him to get ahead. As Marius, you see a lot of talk lately about Marius not being one of the best strongmen ever, and because he wasn't statically this, but he still beat in a car deadlift for reps. People that were technically stronger than him. He'd still win overhead events, so he knew how to compete. Yep.
Damn good competitor. One of the best ever, if not the best competitor ever.
For sure. Yeah. As far as pure all out, competing. Yeah, I think that guy hates losing. So yeah, he's probably the best at that.
More than anyone. I've never seen anyone shake their head more after a disappointing performance.
Yeah, people complain about like Thor not shaking Eddie's hand, or like Shaw looking upset on the podium or something. Go back and look at Marius.
Yeah, look at when he did not beat Z when he was going for his 6th title. Yeah, just shaking his head. No.
And then slapping Poundstone on the back when he did beat him. When Pound, like all that kind of stuff. Like and everyone has a short memory when they talk about sportsmanship and all that shit.
Correct. And then so we got a max overhead.
Yeah.
We thinking, well, if we got a log in the heats, I guess probably another log. I doubt it would be an axle.
I think it could be. It just depends. I know there's a max log at Europe's, so it would be kind of redundant if there's 2 within the month, but they're also like really not connected either. So,
dude, what about a max dumbbell?
That'd be interesting. That would definitely change things up a lot.
Yeah, that would be cool. They'd have to be real smart about the jumps, but that would be pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah, and Dimitar Savatinov's eyes just lit up.
Yeah. Somewhere now, Dimitar is thinking about doing a max circus dumbbell.
So, looking at these events, you got a frame carry, car deadlift, loading race, truck pull, max overhead, Atlas stones. Depending on what the max overhead is, especially if it ends up being something like a dumbbell, which I hadn't even considered. You don't see that contested for a max very often. I don't think it would be, but let's just go down that whole thing. Would that just not be about as good of events as it possibly could be for someone like Mateusz Kielkowski?
Yeah, but he's still. Is he back yet? Is he back from his surgery?
He's training for the Arnold, I think.
Is he really?
Pretty sure.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I saw him putting up some big. I saw him putting up some dumbbell and stuff.
That was let's see. So was it right tricep? I don't remember what it was. He's got his arm covered, but that might just be to protect it from the dumbbell.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hit 136 kilo dumbbell with his very athletic technique. He's extraordinarily athletic, and then all the plates exploded everywhere. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize he came back so quickly from that injury. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised anymore. Some guys come back just.
No, there you go. Not some guys. Polish strongmen come back quick.
So he had PRP. Yeah, it was tricep. He had PRP in the tricep. And actually, he has the needles going in there, which I don't remember anyone. He's got 5 needles going in his arm right now. It's hard to take my eyes off of this. Anyway, you can see it on his Instagram. But yeah, he's coming back strong.
But
so that's gonna be awesome.
I think when someone when they struggle with the deadlift, something like a car deadlift tends to be a little bit better event.
Sure.
For versus like a deadlift for max. Obviously good at truck pull, loading race, frame carry, depend on the overhead. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting year. I'm with you. I'm all on the Thor train. It seems like he's training. I think that could be the only downfall is that he's training too hard.
Yeah, that's the only. But I think I don't know. I followed Sebastian Oreb's Australian strength coach. I followed his stuff for a while, and he seems to program very intelligently.
Yeah,
I agree. I think he's got Thor doing his last heavy deadlift next week, and I think Thor said he's going for 455 kg would be just over $1,000. So It looks like he's going just over 1,000, and I'm gonna go ahead and put money on. It will be hard, but not that hard. I think Thor's good for like 1070 right now.
Yeah.
I think quite 500 kilos, but I think he's good for like around 1,050 to 1,070.
He pulled what 1013, 1017 or something at Worlds. After pulling a truck. He looks a lot stronger now. I think the other things you have to take into account is the Arnold doesn't allow suits,
Yep.
and they don't allow figure eight straps, which do help. You can let the bar hang a little lower in your hand
Absolutely.
versus a strap you actually have to grip. Why they don't allow figure eight straps? The Arnold and Worlds are competitors of each other. And there was a moment where the people involved with Worlds where they kind of brought figure eight straps back into popularity. So I think that's where that stemmed from. Even though they don't anymore, that's my own take. That's not that's how I see it.
Sure.
Because the year before, Worlds and Arnold were kind of working together, and Eddie competed and he used figure eights. And then the next year they talked about how we're not cheating using those figure eight straps on stage the whole time.
Yeah.
And then I heard from someone. I heard that some of the announcers at Britain's were making digs that this is a properly programmed show and not one that like some others do that leave all the athletes leaving injured. So,
oh, jeez.
It's how it always goes. Everyone's competitive, but
I guess that doesn't really. It can be really good for the sport. It can.
I think
if they keep trying to make it better, you know what I'm saying? Like if they're constantly getting pushed and it ends up being better for the athletes, then it's good. When it starts to become really negative and vitriolic, then it is not good.
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line.
It is.
Yep. The other things and notes with Worlds, happy to see Last Man Standing was an experiment that everyone has marked as failed, and it's not back. Hopefully.
What a terrible event that was to watch.
Like, it's terrible event. Fun to do in training, maybe.
Sure, yeah. Fun a little bit in training, but God, to have that in the competition and to see someone like Mateusz Belsak have to do 23 reps with a 330 stone, it's painful to think about.
So, before we get going, I want to ask you, bringing up names like Belsak, I think they always announce him as, who do you see making kind of coming onto the scene this year, looking at these events, how we've kind of seen everyone's training and competition go by. Who do you think is going to make a big splash at Worlds, probably make the finals and kind of surprise people like Martins and Kilkowski, etc. have done in past years?
Okay. I'm going to say Obi makes the finals again, and I'm going to say Dirks makes the finals.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Just looking at training, looking at just what I've seen. I think at least for the rookies, I think Dirks can make the finals.
Yeah, if we're gonna go back to rookies, I think Obi's gonna have his best performance.
Yeah,
pretty much since his first bid to Worlds. And yeah, I don't see how. I think he'll make the finals. He's super, is athletic again. All his other strengths are there, especially if he gets a squat in his qualifiers.
I'd like to see an uninjured Lawless come back.
Yeah, I don't know what he's been doing, but it would be great to see if he was back. I don't know.
I'd like to see. Gosh, I'm trying to. There's no one really. It's hard to think of any rookies from outside the U. What about Iron Bibby?
I think that would be the one that everyone would be screaming at us if we forgot, which we almost did.
Yeah. No, man. Well, I don't have a list in front of me, so I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. But yeah, so did he get an official invite?
Yeah, he got it at. I'm assuming he got one at the Giants Live Finals.
There you go. So then he's got a damn good shot at making the finals.
Yeah, I think as far as rookies, he's probably the top prospect going in. Just seeing how I think he has holes in his game. He could easily make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he just as far as pure contest, where I see someone like Adam Dirks on the opposite end, with, you know, maybe not like you just look at him and you're like all the potential, but I don't think many are training smarter or more like, you know, making sure that they don't have any holes, that everything's even. You know, he's made just great progress even since I saw him compete in Texas earlier.
Yeah.
You know, about a year ago.
Nah, he trains really intelligently, and you could tell that he, you know, I don't know that his deadlift is quite. I don't know if he's, you know, back up to his 950, but everything, he's so well rounded now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's what, because he hit a 400 log last week.
Yep.
So yeah, I think he'll do really well. And then I'm gonna go ahead and one more prediction. I'm gonna say that Trey gets a last minute invite.
If he does a Giants live somewhere,
I don't know. I just got a hunch. I
I
I'm gonna
think
say
that more depends on if there's so many Americans that have already gotten invites. I think it would be tough. If someone pulls out or something, he'll probably be. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd be like next in line.
A reserve, yeah.
Yeah, but.
And I'd like to see. Real quick before we forget, World's Strongest Viking was this weekend.
Definitely, yeah. I saw Radzikowski won, I think.
Yeah, and then second was
Dennis Collard. I don't know how to say his last name.
But Luke was third. That's what I was going for. Luke was third.
Luke Herrick, Lucian Herrick. He's quietly. Would you say he's out of all the American strongman with the least notoriety been doing the most in international competitions?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it. This isn't his first SCL podium, I don't think, and he's just quietly been going around and doing contests and having fun, and we need to get him on the podcast.
I was looking at my my phone for that post where they had the top three, and the last thing that you liked of mine was when I wrote "Congratulations, Luke." Yeah, we got the picture here, so let's see. So Justin Fisher had a custom pink shirt made for him.
I saw
that. Was pretty awesome. I'm guessing the promoters gave that to him.
Yeah, they did.
That's badass.
The other thing I liked, that Fisher on the back was put in quotations, and someone asked why is it in quotations, and they said the shirt maker thought it was a nickname. So there's a little bit of lost in translation there.
That is awesome. But yeah, that's an awesome. And also, I think Justin Fisher did I guess he did like a trial run with the yoke, because he did not qualify for that event, and then I guess he would have gotten second had he.
He's
qualified for it.
Yoke's one of his stronger events.
Oh yeah.
Like World's Strongest Viking. There's a preview post up on StartingStrongman.com about the show. I'm sure Kiki will send in results and like a little write up she always does about the show, and you got to check out the photos. It's probably one of the as far as unique events and location, probably
the most
in strongman. Like,
yeah,
I think if someone's looking to make like a trip to go watch a contest, I guarantee if you went to watch that one, like if you plan that for next year, that would probably be way more enjoyable than trying to go to Worlds or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, congrats to Luke. We've been saying we need to get him on for like a year, but that's just kind of how things work out sometimes.
Oh, I know I keep saying one last thing. Now I'm actually looking at a list. I'd like to see Travis get an invite to Worlds, and I think there's a chance it could happen. And I think Calm Wolf has a good chance of making the finals.
Yeah, Calm's just been improving. He's
very well rounded.
He's well rounded. He's just been a little behind. And it keeps getting harder and harder to make the finals. But
it does. And as you know, there are usually a couple of heats that we expect something, and then something wildly different happens.
Yeah. Let's say other topics. Is this the year JF Karan gets on the podium?
I see him getting top 5 again, but God, it's hard to crack that podium.
Yeah.
But he's consistently top 5 in the world. He
Yeah.
really is.
It's just it's almost he's too consistently top 5. It's almost better to be like that person who has like a flash where they get second, then they get eighth, you know, because you get noticed a little bit more. But it's also going to be his first Arnold, which I think he could do again, you know, top 5.
Yeah. Yeah, and then still, like, he gets top 5, and people are like, JF who?
Yeah.
I don't get it. But yeah, I think him and Martins will vie for a podium spot. It's going to be tough, but there's certainly a chance. Definitely don't count him out.
Yeah, I think, you know, JF's right up there. You know, the events look good for Martins. It just depends on you know, if he doesn't do silly stuff to get hurt in the meantime. Like that's the biggest downfall to Martins, I think.
I really hope he goes into this healthy. I think he will, though. I think he will.
Yeah, he had a little lat injury. He won the LA Fit Expo again for, I believe, the 3rd or 4th time in a row a couple weeks ago. And he doing the fishing pole deadlift and training before that, he tore something in his lat. But I'm sure he has that same kind of DNA where he heals quick. So hoping for the best.
Yeah. He's like, just climbed a mountain the next day, and the bruising went away.
Yeah, I remember Obi put up a Instagram, you know, saying how he does contrast, you know, going from the hot tub to the, you know, the pool for recovery. Yeah. And Martine said sleeping in video games is better.
Awesome.
So hopefully he's playing lots of video games and they're not affecting his lat too much, and he can heal up and be, you know, healthy for April.
Yep.
Or supposedly April. Who knows? That's not official. From athletes I've talked to, they don't really know yet, but everywhere I've seen rumored, it's like it seems like here in, you know, late April.
It must be awesome to be an athlete and World's Strongest Man, and to just tell your boss, you know, for the guys that have a 9 to 5, like, hey, I got to take a couple weeks off. I'm like, oh, when? Somewhere between April and August. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I might get like 30 days notice or maybe a week.
Possibly, you know? 3 days.
Yeah, but I might just suddenly have to go for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You understand, right?
It's tough, and I think that's like, I heard, I don't know how true it is that like Graham Hicks might not do Worlds for that reason, because he has like a real job, and he's just like, it's too, like, he can go do Britain's or Europe's, you know, where it's like a day and it's not that far, but, you know, being gone for like, you know, 2 weeks at Worlds is when you don't really know when it's going to be. It's kind of tough.
I think he's an aeronautical engineer, I think.
Yeah, a real job.
Yeah, BAE, yeah.
So I don't know if that's true or not, but I've known, and, you know, I've talked to a couple people that you might have remembered their names, and they said similar. They're like, Worlds is just way too hard. Unless you're like on the podium, you're not really making any money that trip.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, if you're in the qualifying group and you got like 6th, you're there for like a week and a half, or like over a week, and you end up with like $600, I think.
Yeah.
For getting like 5th or 6th in your qualifying group. So,
you
know, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
You know, they cover the travel and everything, but they're also like, you know, it's tough. So I understand why, you know, some of the competitors don't. From what I heard, I think top 4 at Britain's get invites. So I'd like to see Paul Smith get one.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
I think it's tough because, you know, I think Lawrence is for sure going to get an invite back, even though he didn't compete, I'd assume, you know, because he did make the finals the previous year, and they generally invite everyone in the finals back, as they should, in my opinion. I think a lot of fans would be upset if they don't see Mark Felix back, you know, even though he is about 70 now.
Doesn't look 70.
No, and still
looks, he's doing a little bit of a Benjamin Button thing.
Fuck yeah, it's crazy. But you know, but I think, you know, with the performance Paul Smith had, he definitely deserves to be there. You know, it's there comes a time where, you know, the guys that are 50 plus need to kind of, you know, let the guy that's 23 come up. but we'll see. You know, it is a television show.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, will Eddie be back? That's the big question.
Let's just go and say yes.
I think he will.
Let's just say it. Yeah. Let's say he will be.
Yeah, it's hard to stay away.
Yeah, we know that.
Show me an athlete that can just walk away. There's not
Mike Burke. That's it.
That's it. Mike Burke and Barry Sanders. They can just.
Mike Burke's like, I'm done, and they're like, but you did so well. He's like, it's my time.
We'll go do other stuff really well.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we ended up doing this one. We had a couple of weeks where we had some scheduling issues and couldn't get it done. So I'm glad and we almost missed this one, but I'm glad we didn't.
Yeah, I'm glad to be talking to you. And thanks everyone for listening. And thanks for listening to the Strong Talk podcast. You can follow Mike at Chrono Strength, myself at Let Kale Lift, and of course at Starting Strongman. And as Kevin Cronin will be happy if he'll be mad if I don't say it, and he'll be happy if I do. Go on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and review, and we'll talk to you next week.
See ya.